Hey, David, welcome.
How are you today?
Fantastic.
We're
Awesome.
excited to have you on, David. I know we haven't done an in-depth conversation or podcast with you yet. This is going to be a neat opportunity, even on the exploratory call with you about the podcast, hearing some of what you were talking about. I'm like, yeah, our audience needs to hear more about that.
Mhm.
But first, let me ask you real quick, just a summary. How's STG, Sales Transformation Group, going?
Yeah, STG is doing awesome, man. We are just elevating our coaching and our leadership here at our organization. Ryan and I both went down to Tampa this last week to St. Pete to go experience a Andy Elliott event. For those of you guys who don't know, he is like all
Mhm.
over social media right now, and we just got really pumped up about all of the changes. And so we're bringing that back to STG and how we can help level up our customers and continue to coach people to excellence.
Well,
Awesome.
I love hearing that because at the end of the day, it's all about learning and continual learning. And Chris is a master at this.
Yeah.
We're always talking about what books he's reading and then he gets me inspired and I buy the same one and we chit chat about it. So it's you I was told once by someone that your business can never get beyond your mental capacity if you're an
Uh-huh.
owner. And that's a scary thought for a lot of owners who just want to live in a bubble
It sure
and
is.
not get educated at EstimateRocket. And I don't want to get off the topic here, but we opened EstimateRocket University and it's a freebie for
Yeah.
everyone. And it's like pulling teeth to get people to sign up for education and training.
Yeah. It's surprising how many people don't understand the knowledge. I'm not a big proponent of, traditional education. I think that it
Mm,
covers a lot of topics that don't really help people
mhm,
really grow. But
mhm,
there are so many incredible books, resources, universities like this that actually have tangible assets that a business owner can use to increase their business, either profitability or revenue, top line growth, 10, 15, 20%. I mean,
mhm,
when we take on a client that's under, we have a specific segment that we focus on, but when we take on a business under $10 million, we almost always double the business within 24 months if they follow the system. And it's just a matter of like taking the time, educating, putting in place the process in the system, as I'm sure you guys, have a pretty big impact for your customers as well.
mm, And I think a tagline for that, because I know you guys so well and I know what you produce out of STG, it really is getting a master's degree in real life business.
It is. Yeah. It's so important.
Yeah.
Just today, they released the top 100 contractor. Yesterday, I think they released the top 100 contractors, and we had I think we had 7 or 8 guys that were on that list. There, one of top 10 has been a longtime customer of ours. So we've got some good successful people, but it's about taking the time to really educate and actually working through things.
Right. Well, the good news is if they're on your list, they're on my list too. Since we
Awesome.
have so many of the same clients. So to get back on topic, let's talk about lead generation and how do you guys help contractors get more leads and get more qualified leads? Because at the end of the day, it's
Mhm.
really about the qualification. How good are these leads?
For sure. For sure. And what I will say is that across industries, I'm seeing lead generation down significantly. So a little bit of context for everyone in my background. So I actually sold digital marketing for about a decade prior to coming to work with Ryan at STG here. And so I've seen a lot of really, really good strategies and a lot of good systems from a digital standpoint,
Mhm.
from a mailing standpoint, door knocking. There's a handful of really, really great systems. And so I'm going to give you guys a couple of kind of my like top tier results. So we work with a lot of roofing contractors. So I'm going to give this one here first because this one's pretty sweet. It is Have you guys ever heard of contractors going out and like renting a barbecue pit or renting a pizza truck or something like that and giving away a slice as a lead generation strategy?
No.
No, haven't heard of that.
So that's been around for a while, and it's a decent strategy. But
Huh.
here's the challenge, right? So you get the barbecue, right? You get the olfactory, you got the smells, it's drawing people in. But us as adults, we all know that free barbecue is not free. There is an attachment there, and I'm not sure what it is, but I'm going to be a little hesitant about it.
It's
And
a little string from the pizza to the
exactly. So what we actually, one of the expert strategies that we teach is that when you're out doing a job, you create this environment. So we have tents, we have a few other things that we recommend, and you rent an ice cream truck. And the reason why you go for an ice cream truck is because that appeals to children who do not have that same bias. And when they come up and they say, what is this? You say, hey, this is great. We're giving away free ice cream. You got to bring your parents though, in order to give us consent.
Ooh,
That's your hook.
Nice.
So now for literally like $500, our guys are generating between 25 and probably 50 appointments, depending on where they market it. For like $500 is the most cost-effective lead strategy.
Right. That's awesome.
So that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that I'll say from a digital standpoint is geofencing. Now, do you guys know, or are any of your customers doing that currently?
I don't know.
Yeah, probably some people are. I don't think we offer that, but
Okay. So this actually ties. So one of our customers, number I think 32 on the top 100, Belden Roofing. They're a big commercial contractor, and so they were bidding on a job for the stadium, and so they then geo-targeted that market like crazy for like 2 months, and it's just right around the stadium, and that helps them. So for our residential contractors, let's say you're trying to break into a gated community as an example, and you've got high value homes that you're targeting. Great strategy for you to be able to geo-target that specific neighborhood. The other thing that I'll say, last one that I'll say, a little old school, is we actually have some guys that still do some handwritten notes. And now this is only for like high value targets. You got your $1 million, $2 million, $5 million homes that are in a community that you can't get into. We had a contractor of ours handwrite, I think it was like 155 letters, like handwritten, the whole thing. Took a lot of time. He ended up getting, I think, 35 contracts out of that neighborhood.
Wow, that's amazing.
$1 million properties.
And you know how many top, A student high school kids would love to be paid to come in and sit and write handwritten notes? So you're helping the community by hiring them, and you're having them help you generate leads.
Exactly. Last thing I'll say from a digital standpoint is video content. And this is one thing that I'm personally trying to work on a little bit more of. Just hearing some of the examples from the event that we went to, the gentleman, Andy Elliott, he's gotten over 150 million views this year from now till August. And he's not paying for advertising. He's just creating clips. And all he is he's got someone taking video of his day and documenting. He's just pumping out content. And that is translating into him 500 leads per day. I mean, think of what 50 leads a day would do for any of our business.
Oh, I know. That's amazing.
Yeah, content is a thing that scares some people off if they're not used to doing it, but it gets easier. It's one of those things, if you just do it, you start learning and you start getting better just by virtue of doing it, So I always use the phrase, do the dreaded thing. Sometimes it's just about this thing that's standing, it's relatively small compared to what rewards, come in through this little risk. And I hear that about content all the time. I'm a big believer. I think it's just scary because it's the unknown for people. And also maybe there's some insecurities that play in there. Also you can't, it's not tangible, the results, right? You have to kind of be able to
Mhm.
forecast what the results could be, kind of have that predictive mindset. So it's
Mhm.
a few reasons that it's maybe difficult for some people, but boy, I think it really pays off when your company is putting out content that your community can see. Yeah.
Versus you giving Google a check for, 10 to 20K a month, or
Exactly.
Facebook,
And the interesting thing is that's understandable. It sucks, you know, but people they can envision the mechanics of how that exchange works. But something I see people struggling with this again and again, and I'm as a content creator myself, I'm like, it took me the longest time to understand what's the problem here. Why wouldn't you start getting something out there? But I think it's just hard for people to envision who don't do it all the time. They don't know
Mhm.
what platforms to use, what kind of content really make. But I always tell people, you just get started with something. You will learn. It's the easiest thing to learn once you start getting something there, because you kind of review it, you could get feedback on it, you have opportunities to change it. It's not like a one and done thing. Um, but anyway, I think that's great. These are all great lead ideas. I'm sure you guys help people with the creative process, but you guys have a lot of the logistics that help people reel in the leads and then kind of put them in the lead funnels and have all these
Mhm.
touches for how you bring people in. Let's talk real quick about just something very tangible. How many touches bring in a lead do you typically see with your contractors?
Yeah. So what we typically see is that, one, the time to connect with that person, that lead, it's
Mhm.
got to be under 5 minutes. So you need to have
Mm.
some level of automation that it's either coming right directly to you, or it's coming right directly to someone that is on call that's monitoring that.
Mhm.
That's the most important thing, is how quickly you're able to respond. So
Mhm.
I was in Tampa this week, or last week, and my AC in my unit went down. And I had someone at the house that was watching my dogs and like, hey, can you turn the air? It's like 80 degrees in here. I'm like, oh my goodness, that means like there's something wrong. I called the guy on the plane as I'm deplaning. I submit my information. He called me in under 30 seconds.
Wow. That's impressive.
He was at my house in an hour and a half. I was still not even home, and he was already at my house. And the problem
Mhm.
was solved in like 2 hours. And you start figuring out ways where you can deliver like that,
Mhm.
and you are going to absolutely annihilate the
Right.
competition.
I was going to say crush. I like annihilate better.
Yeah. Do you guys know Brian Gottlieb from Tundraland out in
Mhm.
Wisconsin?
Mhm.
So I did a podcast with him a while ago, and one of the things that was really surprising is his bath business that he does. If you sign a contract tonight, he installs the next day, which is unheard of in the
That's
industry.
right.
And
Wow.
you start to think about, it's not just about the leads, right? But it's how quickly we're able to deliver time to value to those prospects. And when
Right.
you start separating yourself in that way, it becomes massive for your overall business.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I didn't answer your question at all, though, in terms of how many touches.
You were
Uh,
close.
but what we tend to see is, one, the first thing is that we gotta engage with that prospect right away. Um, I what I have consistently seen is that you need at least 8 to 9 touches towards those prospects before you
Mhm.
give up on them, and that
Mhm.
should all be done within a matter of 3 to 4 days. And if you haven't gotten traction within that 3 to 4 days, it's probably something you put in a pile that's not right for now. And maybe you bring on an intern, and they're going to call those opportunities. But typically, what my team does is phone call immediately. Typically, a double phone call is what I found to be the most successful for guys. Is like,
Mhm.
you think about when someone calls you, you don't know who it is. I'm not going to answer. But if I see a double phone call, I'm like, oh, maybe this is important. I probably need to answer this. And so
Mhm.
the double phone call we see works really, really well. And the next thing that we'll do is email and text all same day.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a pretty succinct follow-up process for everything that comes in. Double phone call, email, text message. Next morning, another phone call, another email, text message, another phone call next day as well.
So what do you see, David, as some of the challenges that your clients go through trying to make a change within their organization and implement this?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I see is people, one, they let the day-to-day of the business impact them creating processes that become repeatable. And so contractors will, I've got to close business, got to deal with this thing, and I've got to, deal with this fire, and I've got to deal with this problem, as opposed to spending the time to create those processes. And those processes then allow you to repeat, rinse, repeat, continue
Right.
to grow, bring on additional people that can actually
To
follow
help.
the process,
Mm-hmm.
and really make sure. What are some of the things that you guys are seeing on your guys' end?
So, you know, eh, everyone is so busy. That's the problem. So the whole mind shift of you need to take the time to work in your business, on your business instead of in your business. And I
Mhm.
think that's the biggest challenge is time. They are so incredibly busy and they are growing at such a rapid rate that they obviously have to start hiring people to be able to take on some of these tasks, because I basically tell people, our customers, that a lead is like a French fry. That's how quickly that lead will get cold or go to someone else. And so at EstimateRocket, we talk to our engineers and we tell them how important it is for all the leads to get notifications to the customer that someone's just opened a proposal. So we have a lot of sales acceleration features that you're getting notified instantly, and you're supposed to pick up the phone and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. And they're going to say, oh, I just opened your estimate to read it again, and I have some questions. What a coincidence, right? So
Exactly.
we try to streamline that whole process so that they can close the deal as quickly as humanly possible. So that has really, our sales acceleration features have really helped our customers really tighten the gap on that whole sales cycle.
I
You
can definitely see that.
you
Mhm.
mentioned emails, texts, and phone calls as ways to kind of reach out to people, and and what could be the challenges for setting up some of those, or getting the process down and actually doing what they need to be doing. We just introduced texting, and
Awesome.
Mhm.
we have internal texting, external to communicate or to the client and everything. We actually and actually to make sure you don't clutter people's phone with constant. Not everybody likes to do that. So first of all, they have to opt in and everything, but we have a customer portal to where it gathers all the communications to where you could start sending messages. That's not just on your text if you don't want to, but everything is gathered there, the central point. You have the emails and everything. But one of the things that we see is, because I'm always trying to build education platforms, we have the experts to teach people. And I'm like, how do I bring in people to learn, to take the time, to carve out the time that they need to learn this thing, to do it right? That saves more time exponentially in the future. You spend
Mhm.
20 minutes learning something and you end up saving 4 hours out of your week. Literally, I think one of the customers said that, and I'm getting somewhere with this. We're not just selling EstimateRocket. That for every hour I spend in EstimateRocket, I get 4 back or something. But
That's awesome.
you'd think that sounds really easy. Like, oh, I'll do that. But it does take getting in and doing some work. Like, for instance, your email template. You want to make sure your emails or your text messages have the right message
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
tailored to your company. We start everybody out with some generic scripts and verbiage that helps them, that a lot of contractors use. But you got to find something that's tailored specifically to what you're doing, the types of pictures that you're using, types of videos that you're linking to. Your language is going to change. And so you got to take some time for setup to really get that honed in right. The
For sure.
timing of when messages go out and how, you were talking about throughout the day. Well, do you want it all to go out at one moment, or do you want it spread out through the day? What time next day does it go? it just takes some time for setup, but it's convincing people to do that, that one, it's going to be worth it. Because not everybody is the greatest futuristic thinker. Not everybody can picture the future in the same way.
Mhm.
That kind of differs from person to person. So some people are relying on a really hazy grasp on what that will look like success wise. And you really have to have a good grasp to put in the time. That's part of the problem too. The other thing is the process. It's hard to imagine like, okay, what exactly do I have to do to get this to work right? And
Mhm.
so I know that you have to get it. The best form of learning, most efficient mode of learning is practice. I know that because I help people do it all the time. And I know that people, when they try to get something conceptually and they're not practicing, they're missing something. They're missing out on the opportunity for muscle memory, which will make it habitual and automatic.
Mhm.
They're missing out on the constant revisions that happen. Because even if you had the concept and you didn't test it right away, you have no idea if that, when it touches reality, if that's going to work for you or not. Through practice, you hone it. Every day you get better at it. So it's convincing people that it works, what it's going to look like in the future, what the process actually looks like. And then they gotta swap something out, in my opinion. I'm a beer drinker, but I know that beer gets in my way some nights to do the things that I need to do. I'm a
Yep.
coffee drinker. Sometimes coffee gets in my way throughout the day if I get too wired,
Yeah.
or energy drinks. Anything could be replaced so easily in your life. You've got something sitting in the place. It is in the Indiana Jones, what was the first one? Raiders of the Lost Ark, when he's switching out the idol with the
Yep.
sandbag, you've got to make this switch. Something's sitting in that spot that you're saying, I could be building templates for estimating that will save me time instead of going out and manually trying to figure out things on the job site. I could be
Exactly.
putting in job costing, at the end of my day at this specific time. So I know if I was profitable or not. So I could use these for reports with my team. But what's happening at the end that's taking the spit? What's sitting in the place of that? And I think
Yeah.
people have to know there's a trade that has to happen.
Mhm.
And so anyway, what are your thoughts? You're the
I
one
was
who's
going to
living.
say, I 100% agree. And you've got to take the time, right? Like I create email templates and follow-ups for our guys. And you have to take that time, because I would have people that worked for me before that he'd spend 20, 30 minutes on an email. And I'm like, dude, how can you follow up with everything in your pipeline if you're spending 20, 30 minutes on an email? And, you need to deliver them at least 1 to 2, and in our experience, 1 to 2 pieces of valuable content on a weekly basis, in addition to some phone calls and things like that. So if you're having 2 to 3 touches to everything that's in your pipeline, how could you possibly do that spending 20 to 30 minutes on each one of these templates? Like, you need to create some consistency here, man. Like this seems like, one, how much of your customer base is actually going to read that? And that's kind of where my mind goes is, with us working with a lot of contractors, the contractors are busy and they're not always reading everything. And I don't take offense when they don't read it. I just know it's my job as a leader I need to consistently hit them with valuable content so that when I do catch them at the right time, I get that trigger notification, as you mentioned, Kathy, of, oh, this person just opened this, or they just took a look at this. I need to double down with a phone call as soon as possible, or shoot them a text. Hey, just thinking about you.
Mhm.
Right. And that's really how you start to drive that top line revenue and ultimately increase your close rate.
Well,
And I think consistency is a huge factor, right? You can't do something one day and then get back to it a week later. You need to come up with a consistent rhythm. And I share with a lot of our customers, an ideal day, an ideal week where you can block out time where no one can interrupt you and you can focus on certain things, working again on your company instead of in the day-to-day. And it's
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. Everyone needs to have some level of time. I actually just saw a great post on LinkedIn that I'm going to probably steal and repurpose, which was, it was talking about Charles Schwab and how he paid someone the equivalent of like 25,000 back in whatever time frame that was, which would be the equivalent of 500,000 in today's currency. And the main takeaway was at the end of the day, write down the 6 things that you need to accomplish to grow your business the next day and prioritize those as soon as you start the day. And, think about if we all took the time to accomplish 6 things or even 3 things that are big needle movers on a daily basis, your business is going to look completely different in 6 months.
Right.
That's good.
Amen. I love hearing stuff like that.
Well, let me ask you, what standards should leaders set for their organization to help people be accomplishing what they need to accomplish?
Yeah. So I'm really big on raising standards within the organization. So my team and what we coach to is there needs to be role playing that's done on a daily basis for your sales team. Salespeople, a couple years ago during COVID, things were great. You show up, you get a contract signed. Today, 7% interest rate, 7.16 today, I think it was. Everybody is a lot tighter with how they're spending their money. And that means you're going to get hit with a lot more objections. And when that prospect says, I need to think about it, I need to talk to my partner, I need to talk to my wife, my husband, whatever it is, if you are not ready to go with your response to that, you are going to lose business to your competitors.
Yep. Amen. Yep.
So what we focus on is there needs to be daily accountability within your organization. So I have clear standards that we set. It's going to vary depending on the type of industry. So for our guys that are in the insurance door knocking space, right, it may be 100 doors that they're knocking every day, that's their standard. And from that, they should expect that they should generate 3 contracts. For our inside sales team, it's a certain number of call volume that you're looking at. So there's a certain amount of output that they need to have, whether that's conversations, whether it's talk time, whether it's doors knocked, whether it's leads followed up. You need to figure out what that specific metric is. And what I do with our team is that we actually work it backwards towards, I've got a certain number of leads that are a percentage of that is going to turn into appointments. A percentage of those appointments are going to be qualified. A percentage of those qualified are actually going to close. You need to understand each one of those metrics within your business so you understand and are tracking, oh, wow, our volume for appointments was down. Well, what happened? Well, our call volume wasn't there, or, well, we didn't do XYZ, or we didn't knock enough doors. You need to understand where those things are so that way you can make the adjustments that you need to make. What sort of standards and metrics are you guys seeing on your guys' end?
Do you want to go, or you want me?
One thing we're always looking at is, and we kind of mentioned it, I'll mention real quick, then Kathy, if you have anything, but profitability, it's one thing to say, and I know that this may not be the granular, some of what you're talking about, but I mean, we always are trying to revisit profitability and helping people and owners and people management revisit with their team profitability. And I know Kathy may speak to how EstimateRocket does it with its own employees, but we just did a podcast recently on team accountability. How do you have the type of meetings that increase accountability while inspiring people and not, you don't want death by meeting. You're trying to avoid 2 ends of the spectrum here, where you can let people do their job, get the things done, but you have to kind of come back together and say, are we accomplishing what we think we're accomplishing? But what we see with a lot of contractors is they may not be achieving as much profitability as, their gross revenue may be high, but they may not be netting exactly what they think they're getting. So we want to make sure those profit margins are really high. So we're showing, job costing is going to be a big part of that. Knowing how to run reports, talking to your team about it. So anyway, those are some of the things we'd say. Make sure you're hitting the profitability marks that you think you are. You got to see the numbers right in front of your face.
And we do this internally, and we coach, and I use the word very, loosely, because we're a software company. So we just, if people bring up conversation, we're so happy to try to mentor them and give them feedback. But we believe in KPIs for every individual in the company, including the owners.
Love that.
We believe in meeting rhythms. where,
Yeah.
as Chris said, you're not dying by meetings. They're quick, they're concise, and you're having them all the time. And again, whether you're trying to sell or bring your company to the next level,
Mhm.
consistency is the key to all that, which I know you teach at the transformation group. And then within EstimateRocket, so what you might not know about the two owners at EstimateRocket is we're both finance majors. And this is our second company. So
wow.
we had a first one, that's gone. Now we have a second one. And so every software program we've ever written is really a financial package. If
Mhm.
you get down to the nitty gritty, right?
Yeah.
It's always there to show you instantly job costing, profitability in real time. So, and I know that we get to talk to some of our, bigger customers will even admit to us that, before I started doing job costing and profitability in EstimateRocket, I thought I was making huge profits on all my jobs. And
Right.
then I got finished, and 2 weeks later, I do the books with my CPA
Whoa.
and I made nothing.
Mhm.
So we're having our customers look at profitability every single night if they feel like it, because
That's
we
awesome.
want them to be able to instantly have a meeting with crew leaders and say, okay, material costs are off and labor costs are off. What's going on here? And how can
Mhm.
we fix this? And do we need to have a change order signed immediately for this job? So we make sure that we put all the stops in place to help them make more money. And we also understand the whole sales cycle. So we make sure that we have all the sales acceleration tools. And to a degree, EstimateRocket can also be almost like a little admin in your office, because you're never going to lose an unsigned estimate, one that you
Mhm.
didn't close on the spot. We
Mhm.
put it in a drip for you as you,
That's great.
and we touch the client, so hopefully they'll sign it. I've had
Yeah.
customers out to dinner with their wives, and they've closed a $10,000 deal that EstimateRocket closed for them. So
awesome.
we do try, David, to put all those features within the system so that we're helping accelerate their growth. And we're really proud to say at EstimateRocket, our customers grow on average by 34% in sales and profitability year over year over year over year.
Wow.
And a lot
That's
of them are
awesome.
your customers.
That is
So
awesome.
you're coaching them at a much deeper level to
Mhm.
really, we're giving them the technology and helping them with their workflow. And that enables them to spend more time with you to really crush it with the sales flow.
That's love to hear year
Yeah.
over year growth like that. That
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. And you're so right. It's really important to make sure that you understand the math behind the
Right.
profitability of your business, because so
Right.
many business owners are, they're running things way looser than they should be. And the
Yeah.
problem is, at some point that sort of stuff is going to come out, and it's going to be painful when it does come out.
And what
It's
your company and our company can do for a growth-minded contractor is give them something of great substance that they can sell at some point if they choose to do that. And I want to see these guys be able to sell and make some money when they're no longer interested in doing the business any longer.
that is
So it's
awesome.
important.
Yeah, it is. It's so important.
David, are there any other metrics that you want to hit that you guys follow up with before we talk about
Yeah.
transformation?
So the other thing that's really big that I see a lot of people, so I've worked with a lot of Renewal by Anderson locations, and those guys are absolute machines at marketing and sales process. What I see far too many contractors not understanding the metrics of their ad spend. So they might know, hey, what's my cost per lead? I'm spending, $10,000, and I generated however many leads I generated. They don't actually listen to those phone calls. They don't know if those are actually leads, but they'll say, yeah, my cost per lead is $150. And then you really start to dig in and you're like, well, actually, 7 of those weren't, leads. They were, existing customers or whatever, so
Mhm.
you really don't understand what those are unless you have somebody that's actually looking at that sort of data, which, to give a plug for one of our partners, Rhino Strategic Solutions, they actually record all of the calls, and a US based person actually listens to them and gives feedback, which is
Wow.
insane.
That's
If you haven't,
interesting.
if you haven't talked with Chris and his team over there, they have an awesome setup.
We
Wow.
should do a podcast with them.
You
That's
as
should
well.
probably a
definitely,
good
yeah,
idea.
I'm happy to do an intro to you guys. They
Okay,
run
cool.
a really, really awesome organization.
Hmm.
And so they listen to the calls. So understanding what your true, cost per lead is, then drilling down to your cost per appointment, which most people don't have any context or understand what their cost per appointment is from a marketing standpoint. And then I like to get down to as granular as your cost per sale from marketing. And this way, when you start looking at your underperformers, depending on the team and depending on the organization, a lot of companies are providing 100% of the leads, and there's no expectation and there's no priority to top performers within your organization, which could be costing you over the course of the
Mhm.
year tens of thousands of dollars. I spoke with a contractor yesterday. Last year, he spent 100 grand on marketing. This year, he spent 300,000. A
Wow.
gentleman on his team was closing at 12%, and he ran 200 appointments. That cost him at
Yeah.
least $150,000 just in marketing cost, let alone opportunity cost. If he had let other people run those opportunities, how much more would he? So there's just so much that you need to really understand about that sales and marketing
Mhm.
funnel that's really, really important.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Well, I know there's a way to learn more coming
Yeah.
right up here pretty soon, which we're excited, right, Kathy? Gonna go to the
I
Transform
know. I'm
conference?
so excited. We're proud sponsors of your
Yeah.
transformation conference.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to go ourselves. We learn a lot by being there as well. We take tons of notes. So tell us a little bit more about that. We have some free tickets that we're going to give away as well. But
Awesome.
tell us, how can people find out more about it and sign up?
Yeah. So one, we've given a handful of tickets for you guys to give out to select contractors that you
Mhm.
have that are high value customers of yours. So our Transform conference is in Dallas. It's September 13th through the 15th. So it's a little less than a month away.
Mhm.
We've got 20 plus speakers. So Chris from Rhino, he's going to be talking about marketing strategy and systems. We're going to have, there'll be several of our customers that are on the top 100 list that will be there and will actually be speaking. I think there's a couple 9-figure roofers that will be there and contractors that'll be in the building. And we'll have dozens and dozens of eight and high 7-figure contractors that'll be there sharing some real good insights. We're going to do some live role play with the team, see how sharp our guys are. So we'll keep everybody on their toes, make sure that we're going out and we're delivering our A game and not practicing with customers. And then we'll have some motivation. We'll have some industry leaders that'll speaking and talking. But honestly, what you guys are going to get the most value out of attending is the roundtables.
Mhm.
I've done dozens of these type of events, and that is almost always what I hear. It's all about the connections. It's all about who you meet. It's about how you surround yourself with other people that you can gather information and hope to not make the same mistakes that they've made.
Right.
And that's really where you're going to see value. We normally charge like $500 a ticket. So if you can get yourself a ticket from Kathy and Chris here, you guys are saving some money and getting some really good value.
Well, and I just want to say, because I've reached out to people offering tickets that we knew are good matches in the Dallas area, but anybody that wants that, if you're listening to this, you need to get in fast because there may be only like a couple left. So
Yeah.
Just putting that out there because I know I'm going to be the one trying to facilitate getting those to people, but I don't want us to run out. So let me know quickly if you guys want that. But no, that is really exciting. We're excited to be a partner to hand those tickets out, and really excited to meet you, David. I know that we've
Absolutely.
talked a little bit here and there, but it'd be nice to see you there and some others. So it's really good, high caliber business people that
Mhm.
really are interested in taking responsibility to grow their business, because you kind of do have to take ownership of that. It's
Yeah.
a new thing when you're not just trying to keep things from sinking, when you're trying to actually get to the next level and you're trying to
Mhm.
motivate and activate everybody all around you to get there. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of pressure. So when those people get together, something happens in those rooms where people are able to share, like-minded ideas and challenging thoughts and stuff. And it's really some neat stuff. So I
It's
encourage people to get.
inspiring.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say is that this is not a sales pitch, right? Like if you've gone to some other events before, there's some other events that are out there, and it's pretty much just a 2-day sales pitch from everybody that's trying to sell you something. That's not how we run things here.
Mm-mm.
It's going to be value packed. We want to help everyone transform their business and help them level up and really crush it this year.
That's cool. We're excited.
And
Awesome.
it takes
Well-
my breath away.
Yeah.
Everyone needs inspiration.
For
Yeah.
sure.
David, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We look forward to hearing more from you.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we need to get you back on. We book out a year ahead of time now.
Wow.
So we would love to have you on again. You are just delightful to speak with. And I know our EstimateRocket community, the ones who are members of your organization, they are crushing it. Truly,
Annihilating.
they've gone from $1 million a year to 20 million a year. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
We
So
don't promise
it's
those
fun-
results for everybody though. So I don't
Read
want
the fine
everybody to,
print.
yeah,
Yeah.
fine print on that for sure. But
Right,
we do have
right.
some pretty good results.
Well, they're the EstimateRocket champions, and we just love working with them. They fuel us. So it's really exciting to see what we're designing and giving them to implement into their business and what they're doing with it as a tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, David.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate the time.
All right.
Bye, David.
All right. See ya.